asked my guide, what are we looking at here? And he said, she has abilities. She has latent abilities that, because she's completely out of control with them, they're creating this energy. And I got the sense that she didn't leave the house very often. I wasn't able to confirm that later, and I'll explain why. But that the little hut that I'd seen outside was indicative of something that had lived there long before electric lights were a thing. So I don't know what part of that state she lived in, but because it's back east, I can only guess. But whatever had originally happened on that land had left a mark. And the fact that she was in it now, and then feeding all of her energy into the app that she was using, the horror movies, focusing intently on this energy, had fed something that might have been a kernel of something into a giant mess of a thing. Once we figured out that it was her that was the epicenter, my guide said, put her in a lead-lined box. This is the first time I've ever used that tool. So we literally, well, not literally, in the journey, we put her into this thing that cut off all of her energy around her, 360 degrees around her, so that we could start to dissipate the energy that had built up in the house. I am shocked that it was limited to the 4 walls. So I don't know what someone had done, but the building itself had its own issues. So you had the perfect storm. It was the trifecta of terror. So you have a space where things have happened that have left an imprint. My gut said it was probably someone who practiced something back in the day. She was probably just a wise woman, but she took it very seriously, and that was the little shack that we saw. Then you have a person who has a history of having some kind of, I think, telekinetic ability, who has created these poltergeist situations because it wasn't associated with the spot so much as it was associated with her. The spot just made it worse. On top of the fact that I don't feel like she left the property very often, and so focusing all of that attention from a person who had uncontrolled abilities into all of these things, and I got the distinct impression that there had been lots of horror movies and a lot of other things going on even after I'd had the conversation about how important it was that she didn't do that. So we get things calmed down, and I asked my guide, is there a fix for this? And he said, not until we can deal with her. So we can take all of that energy down to a healthy baseline, but because she was the epicenter, she was the one that was going to have to get involved. So I ended the journey and reached out to the client.